So without further ado, please welcome Kate Searle to the show. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
That's right.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
I'm like, oh, you're so welcome. First, I'm
Oh,
starting to say it and I should have asked you, but it's Searle.
yes, that's right. I say Searle like a pearl.
Oh,
With
I love it. All the way from, where are you?
Australia, from
Australia.
Perth, Western Australia, on the sunny coast of Western Australia.
So it's
Yeah.
where are you at now? Spring,
We're
fall,
actually,
winter?
we're just coming out of summer and we're about to go into autumn, which is fall, but it's still really hot. So today's a super hot day, and we're getting that last bit of summer weather so we can still enjoy the beach and go swimming before winter.
Have you always lived there?
I grew up inland on a farm, like in a beautiful farm, but then I have lived down south. We call it down in Australind, which is a little coastal town south of Perth. And then I moved to Perth and have lived here most of my life. I've did my degrees here. I did spend a little bit of time living in Canada, which was really exciting.
Where in Canada?
In British Columbia, in the mountains.
Neat.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in Washington State.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So we would go to Canada a lot. And I lived in Montana and we'd go up to Calgary and that kind of thing.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, it's such a beautiful part of the world.
Yes. Anyway, I just was excited to meet you today. And I know our mutual friend is Belinda Womack, who was on this show a few months ago, or a couple months ago. She's going to be, we're recording this now, but it'll be out before this, is the 100th episode, is my top 5 guests, and she's one of them.
Oh, wonderful. I thought she might be, yeah.
So tell me where your connection with Belinda before we get into, I want to understand that.
Yeah, sure. She's an amazing teacher and has been a wonderful mentor to me. I've read her beautiful book and just found that to be the most incredible book. And then I looked into her and saw one of her shows on Gaia, I think it was, online, and found that fascinating. And then, did one of her courses online. She's got an amazing array of courses to do. And, she's been so inspirational to me and just a beautiful person to talk to.
Yes. Yeah. So you were interested in the angels, and that's what drew you to her?
I think I was more interested in, I love the angels and have always, felt my angels around me and have always believed in and felt a strong connection with my family members who've passed away. And I think it was more so at the time I'd, just gone through a pretty hard year of work and in COVID environment, which many people would have experienced as well, where you start to kind of think a little bit about, am I on track? Is this exactly where I want to be? It was the year that I was about to turn 40 as well. So I think that also has something to do with it, right? Where you start to really reassess and go, am I doing what I really want to be doing? And my job at the time was really intellectually stimulating and challenging. And I worked with a great group of people, but I was out of the house a lot, away from my 2 beautiful little kids a lot. And I just took some time off at the end of that year and really reassessed, am I doing what I love? And that's a key question that Belinda's really big on asking people to really consider. Am I doing what I love? And I found it a little bit surprising that, well, not really, but I loved being with my children. I wanted to be with them. I wanted to be playing games with them. I'm really creative, and I think I always have been, but I wasn't allowing that part of me to sort of really shine. Mm-hmm. I also have a very strong logical brain. I've done a law degree and a geology degree and spent a lot of time in a mining industry where it's sometimes it's fun to kind of just be really intellectually, challenged. But then I felt like I was kind of missing out on something. And it was that creative part of me that I really wanted to just have an opportunity to experience. So with the support of my very kind and supportive husband, I actually resigned and took basically a year off to really see what I wanted to do and what I wanted to give, and have a bit more of a sense of authenticity about what I was doing, instead of just doing a job, going to work and kind of giving them my time and my energy. I wanted to see what I could do for me and what I could give. And that's, at the time, I just felt this big burst of inspiration to teach children what I know and what I kind of believe and my truth. So it was one of those very amazing times, which you might have experienced in your life too, where you suddenly have many different things happening and little signs popping up, and which kind of point you in the right direction. So I followed that, and I can tell you about some of those if you like.
I would love to. And I'm thinking about, because I've quit jobs and, just let surrender and trust come into play. Those two words are really important to me. And I know that's when magic has happened in my life. And, when you always are thinking you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but, something's missing. And how many people in this world just keep going and don't listen to that voice and push, and take that step and realize, oh my gosh, and I always say, say yes more and stop saying what if, because, we're only here for this short time. But, when you think of I had children at 37 and 40. So, and I knew before that when I do have them, I am going to be so present. And so there's nothing's going to pull me from that. I will live in a tent if I had to, that would be my focus. And I appreciate, and I know that is how you are. And I know that's what pulled you too, from that feeling of why, what is, and plus it's also amazing is when, that what you're doing is what they're looking at instead of what you're, I always say they do what you do, not what you say.
Exactly. And that's what I had, that same feeling, that same realization that, hang on, they're seeing me get ready and leave the house for most of the week. And then when I was coming home, I was tired. And so many women could relate to this feeling. And you come home, then that's that short little bit of time you have with them before they go to bed, and you're exhausted, they're exhausted. And, you have so many parents who tell you it goes so quickly. And I just thought, I don't want to miss out on these years with them. And they're such a joy to be around. And it's so delightful to just allow yourself to have that time in your life to play and to have fun on their level and with them.
Right.
Rather than
never want to have a regret, right? Especially as a parent.
Exactly. You put up a story the other day that was exactly on point. It was a quote saying, no one's ever going to say, I wish I didn't spend so much time with my kids.
Yes, that's what I was just going to tell you. You read my mind. Exactly. Because I was thinking that what came into my head. It's so true. I could post that every single day because that's how I feel.
That's exactly right.
So tell me about your magic moments in that year. Tell me your.
So I was just having fun, spending a lot of time with them, playing. I at the time, COVID was happening. So you're looking around at a lot of chaos. And I was starting to wonder, what are they picking up on this, on their level? At the time, my children were only 3 and 5. So very young, but still their school life was being disturbed. And then I watched the movie The Social Dilemma, which...
Yes.
Yes, okay. So you know it. And it's, for your listeners who haven't seen it, it's a Netflix movie or documentary about the effect of social media and basically the effect that can be having on children. And I was actually just deeply affected by that. There were a couple of points that really shocked and upset me. One was the increased rates of teenage suicide, and then this category of preteen suicide, which had risen dramatically, correlating with social media coming about. That was just so saddening. And then a comment made by one of the men who had created Pinterest, and he admitted that even he was addicted to his phone, and he spent a lot of time scrolling on his emails and checking his social media. And one night he wanted to stop this habit that he had of taking his phone into his room, and he tried his willpower but that didn't work. And so then the documentary went on to call for all this government regulation and increased government regulation, which I agree. Obviously, in society, we need government regulation. We need that. There's a lot of people living on this planet. But he so easily dismissed his willpower. And I thought, what message is that sending to our kids? That don't worry about your willpower. Don't worry about any of your inner powers or your inner strengths. Just wait for a government to solve your problems. And I thought, this is not the right message. Why aren't we teaching our children about their willpower, about their inner compass, about their inner strengths, which I call our soul treasure? Because to me, all of our power comes from our soul. And it was one of the key kind of questions that started ruminating my mind of, where do we ever get to learn about our inner strengths and our inner powers as a child? At the time, I started doing some research, and I came across this absolutely beautiful quote by Oscar Wilde, who is an Irish poet and author, and it just really resonated with me. He said, "Ordinary riches can be stolen, real riches cannot. In the treasury house of your soul are infinitely precious things that cannot be taken from you." And I thought, wow, what are these infinitely precious things in our soul? And how can we teach that to our children to help them to learn about their soul to begin with, and to develop a really deep sense of self-awareness, a connection with their soul, and to learn that their soul is their source of their powers, and they have a wealth of powers inside them. So I started to get this idea of a philosophy, if you like, that I wanted to teach children about their soul and help them develop that connection with their soul by calling them soul treasures. I love gemstones. I'm a geologist.
Oh, yes. You studied geology. That's right.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny because, well, okay, so your book is My Soul Treasure.
My Soul Treasure.
My Soul Treasure. And so I forgot you were a geologist and you're into the gems. So when my girls were little, we would go to these gem stores, and a Paige right now has like gems all over her nightstands, on her little everywhere. Isn't that funny? But when you're drawn to them, do you feel like that's something like in a past life? Because I always think that with Paige, like there's something about these crystals, stones.
So true. And I noticed that in my children, they were forever, well, they still are now. They're collecting little bits of quartz. They're coming home with their pockets full of rocks and treasures, as they call them, and little quartz crystals. And their friends are doing it too. I remember, especially in pre-primary, which is a year before you start school here in Australia, all the children just love minerals and gemstones. And I was the same way as well as a kid. And I think I was lucky enough that on the street that I literally grew up on in Australians, we had a gem and shell museum and shop on the street. Fun. My childhood was trying to do a chore at home, unpack the dishwasher for 20 cents. And then I'd jump on my bike and ride down the street and just be buying my little gemstones into my collection. And then I guess it obviously was staying within me and inspired me to become a geologist. I was fascinated with the natural, with the planet, volcanoes and rocks. And
isn't that interesting? When for me, like trying to find my passion, and I think that's why my passion is helping children find their passion before they leave the house, is that I didn't know my passion. I didn't have anybody to steer me there. And I didn't really probably know how to listen to my intuition, and to teach those that at a young age. After reading your book and understanding, like, geez, I just think we just need school with this book. We just need to have school. That's all they need to know.
I know. And that's how I felt too. I literally went and looked, like I mentioned to you earlier, that I knew what I wanted to teach my children about their soul. So I went to a teacher warehouse, a superstore, to look for it. and it wasn't there. And that's when I realized, oh, maybe I could write a story that can teach children at a young age about their soul, how to develop a connection with their soul, just to give them a real sense of power and resilience, so that as they're growing up, these ideas will just be so certain to them. They'll just feel a sense of, my cat, sorry, just a stronger sense of confidence.
Yes, their power.
And power, exactly, that they can draw on throughout their life. And my whole aim and goal, I hope, my mission is that as they are growing, whatever happens in the outside world, which we know we can't really control world scale events.
Right.
You know, as we've just seen the last couple of years, we're facing some big ones. But then also, you know, we also face things like comments on Facebook, and children are going to go through that. And I'm just hoping that if they become intrinsically motivated and look within and look inward, then they're not going to be so easily hurt by or swayed by external events or external criticism. And at the same time, they'll come more to that neutral place where they won't basically need or be so motivated by external approval or external, congratulations so much, because they're coming from a place of certainty within themselves. This is who I am. This is what I love.
You know, thinking of you with your little kid, you know, like they're young. Yeah. Now I'm looking at you thinking, oh my gosh, you know, like this is it. Like you have the right here. It's so ripe, and, you know, you can just, they're just like such sponges. And now I have a 13 and a 15-year-old that I've worked with that. And I've done all the, you know, we talk about that all the time. And we have ever since they could listen to me. And I just see a difference. And I look around now, especially as teenagers, looking at their, like in COVID, they were fine. They knew it was happening for them. They knew this was for a reason, Mom. And we just enjoyed the moment. Now I get to be, having family dinners and walking the dogs and, all those things that we didn't get to do because we were so busy. But they didn't look at it like a, oh, I'm so depressed, I don't get to go to a birthday party, or, I don't get to go to school. That didn't even enter their mind.
No, and that's a credit to you and the philosophy you've been instilling in them from a young age. So that's their norm. And I think that's wonderful. That's, it's remarkable. And then they can have that really strong core, so that they're grounded within themselves and exactly what they're doing. They're finding the positive and knowing what they can do. That it's a choice. Right. And that's why I like to call these, these treasures are powers. So in my book, you would have seen the beautiful, the colours representing them. So each of the powers, I've given a gemstone and a colour, because I feel symbolism is important for children.
Yes.
To kind of hang on to.
Believe that. Even just reading it, I get the colours and the, the connection to their mind to think, sapphire and the red, and what is that, so continue, because it's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, yeah, the illustrations are absolutely incredible. The amazing lady, Alison Mutton here in Perth, who drew those illustrations, she's so talented. It's so gorgeous. And so each of the powers, I've started with 7. So the power to be cozy, creative, happy, loving and compassionate, courageous, imaginative and wise. So they are the ruby, opal, diamond, emerald, sapphire, amethyst, and pearl, and with the matching colours. So I want children to grow up knowing you have that wealth of treasure inside you. So we all know in life we're going to get hurt. We're going to get hurt feelings. This is the school of hard knocks. So it's not going to just be, an easy ride. But then what I'm hoping to teach children is that when that happens, that you have the choice. We have free will. We have the choice to use your powers. So which one are you going to call upon? So I've given them clues through the book of when you feel lonely or sad, know your soul sapphires, or which one in the book that I've got here, I could read you some of them. Know they shine bright and surround you in a bubble of light. So I want them to feel that connection between knowing you have that power of a choice to turn to a positive way of thinking when you're feeling low. And then with a simple visualization exercise of imagining them in a bubble of light, I think it's a great way, firstly, to teach them about visualization, and to imagine their soul expanding helps to lift their vibration and give them, energizes them. And to say an affirmation, we all know how important that is.
Right.
Our thoughts create our reality. So if we, and it sounds like you've done this, an amazing job with your daughters of positive thinking and affirmations, that forms that strong sense of, solidity and power within ourselves, that we are what we think. So teaching children at a young age to say these really just instills within them that's their foundation.
Right.
And
because we do our affirmations every morning and our gratitude and our prayer, and when they understand, it's kind of it's a repetition, it's a muscle, but I know that we do it rain or shine. I don't care if you're in a bad mood or whatever, but it changes our vibration. There's a song on the radio we play, gratitude music, if we need to really lift it up higher. But it's like through their life, watching each grade as I drop them off at school, they always had to give compliments every day, 5 people. And it was always like, what am I getting? I'm not getting one back. And I said, that's not why you're giving compliments, because most of them probably don't know how to do it back, but you're doing it to give, to teach children. It's about giving, not receiving. And, it's a natural muscle now for them at this. So it's interesting, because where you're at, you're going to see the fruit of your labor in like 10 years. Yeah. And I'm seeing my fruit of my labor now. And it's just so, gosh, and just, it lights me up to see them, and the confidence that they know that, I hear Paige, who was bullied. They both have been. I don't even like to use that label because it's all happening for you, right? It's all perfect. But, just watching her evolve and understand as a mom to know that that's her lesson. It's not mine to be. And I've gone through that where I'm like the mama bear and I'm going to fight you, call the principal. I've definitely gone through my journey, but now watching it now, you push your timeline ahead 10 years and you're looking at it like, when you understand that these children, when they have the tools inside of them and you've empowered them to see it and know it and visualize. We visualize, we do vision boards and all the things, but to learn your mind, to have even how Belinda teaches that visualizing and, the sapphire, or the violet light that she talks about. So we do that in the car, and then someone, will be somewhere and Presley will text me and say something. And I said, okay, surround yourself in violet light. She's like, okay, Mom. But so now at this stage of the game, we're doing these tools, where now I see them work, where I see them coming into it like it comes natural.
Yes, that's right. And how incredible is that, I think. And imagine if all of the world is doing what your daughters are doing. Imagine, that's what I think. I think that imagine if we equip that next generation with all of these tools within themselves, the world is just going to be such an incredible place. And I think that was another driving force for me of when those chaotic world events were happening, the majority of people were turning that into a chaos and a personal chaos. And look what you were saying before about what your daughters were doing. They were immediately finding the positive and seeing, okay, being grateful, like you were saying, come back to the now and being grateful for what they can do now in this situation.
Yes.
And if the whole world had that perspective, then there wouldn't have been chaos.
Right. It's so funny because, I see the people on the side of the street with the signs, with their little kids with no masks and vaccines and everything. And I think, that's fine. That's their journey. Absolutely no judgment. But it's so funny when the girls drive by and they're like, Mom, it's just why it's just perfect. Like, let's just, love and think, visualize it happening perfectly and visualize, and I know to some people that sounds, you're teaching your kid not to, focus on reality, but it's just these tools that you believe in too about, our soul is so, infinite and beyond what you can imagine.
That's right. And powerful. To me, it's that source of power. And we need to teach that to our children. And you're right. We can't look at reality. We can't look at, some terrible things that are happening in the world and pretend they're not happening. And that's, I feel, what we're not doing. And we're looking at things, we're feeling, we will get hurt emotions. We will get hurt feelings. We will feel them.
Right.
But then there has to become a choice of what you're going to do next. What is the next step? You've felt those hurt feelings. You're lonely, you're sad, you're afraid, you feel ignored. And this is what I write in my book. When you feel those ways, what next? And that's, to me, is the step that we're empowering our children to take. It's a choice out of fear towards positivity. Mm-hmm. So, and the ladder to get them out of that is hopefully this toolkit of knowing you have those soul strengths, those soul treasures, doing the visualization exercise, saying the affirmation, and then you'll be carrying that positivity on into the next, the next part of your life.
Right.
And that, I think, is, to me, like one of the greatest gifts you could give a child, is that toolkit of how to stand up for themselves, how to represent themselves. Exactly what you're saying. As a parent, you naturally want to get in there and fight all their fights for them. And I have that strong mother bear protective instinct very strongly as well. But at the same time, I just think how satisfying as a parent, incredibly, amazing feeling you'll feel when you can see your children, they're fully equipped, and then they're teaching you, in like your daughters are doing now. They're reassuring you.
Right. Oh, totally. They're my biggest teachers.
That's right. You're thinking, so, and that was another key thing in my book. I wanted to make sure I included the word wise, because to me, we associate, or society in general might associate, wisdom with being old, having lots of life experience, learning many things. But children are innately wise, and that wisdom comes to me from listening to their soul, listening to their instincts, listening to their guidance, their intuition. And as you know, when you listen to little kids talking, sometimes they do have wisdom that's beyond their years. And I want children to know they have that within them as well, especially when it comes to handling social media and because if they love something and they want to portray themselves in a way, or put up posts, or decide to do whatever they want to do, if that's their wisdom and they're listening to themselves and they know that's right for them, then it doesn't matter if you receive criticism or approval. You're doing it for yourself.
Right.
And that, if everybody lives like that, then the whole world would be content.
Right. And I always say, it doesn't have to be it, one person makes a difference. If you can be like, be that way and send love and have it, catch on and watch how the world can shift, and that I watch it where and we talk about vibration a lot and energy, and, your vibe attracts your tribe and all those words. And, now having little kids, I remember thinking, when they would start to kind of get sensitive about people hurting their feelings. Mm-hmm. And I'd always say, send them love. That's, they don't know any better, and always looking at it like, what can you do to make that better? Instead of being the victim. And I'm always about, we're not being, teaching kids not to be the victim.
That's right. That's right. And at the same time, teaching them it's okay to feel hurt. It's we are human. We are humans. It's okay to feel those feelings. But then to me, and then what?
Yes.
And then how do we move out of that? Because we become that victim if we're just going to stay in our negative feelings. We don't want to get out of them. We're in the puddle, we're swimming around in the mud, and we're not moving. Like, to me, it's like we've got so much power within us to make a choice to move out of that and to move towards positivity and then to be of service and to send love back and to give.
Right.
And that's the, you know, the essence. And getting back to my inspiration, I wanted to share with you that I actually wrote the first story that when I started really meditating and being open to writing a book and it started flowing through is a junior fiction chapter book, we call it in Australia, which I think is a middle grade novel.
Oh, neat. Oh, really?
Yeah, called Find Your Treasure.
Oh.
So that's what I've written first, but my illustrator is finishing the illustrations. So I can't wait for you to read that one, and your listeners and your daughters.
Oh, that's amazing.
I go into a lot more because it's for an older age group. It's probably, say, from 8 to 13 or older. I get to go more into your thoughts and your feelings and your energy and your chakras, and more into that. And it's an incredible adventure story of a brother and a sister. So flying around the world on the back of a magic dragonfly.
Oh my gosh. You know, I used to tell stories. We used to when I was watching pictures of you, and I used to lay in bed when they were little, and they want me to do this dragon where we were on the dragon. We'd all close our eyes and we'd be flying to like our cousins in Seattle. And then we'd stop and do something fun there. But every day, every night they'd rather me do that than read a book.
Oh my gosh, totally. That's so amazing. Actually, I do the same. We call it imaginary story. And my kids, I'll read them a little story, like a book, and then it's imaginary story time. First, I sneak in a song that I enjoy singing that they don't enjoy so funny. Much. And then, imaginary story. And a big one they love hearing from me is the stories of when I was their age, or they'll get to pick an age. So I say, once upon a time, but not very long ago, I was, and they guess the age. And then I just tell them a story of what I was doing at that age with my brothers and sister, and they love hearing about that. And
I bet.
Storytelling is definitely something that I'm passionate about and love doing. Love sharing a story.
When you wrote the other book, the first one that's not out yet, did you feel like you channeled that? Was that just coming through you, like you couldn't help it write?
It was a incredible feeling. I had the intention of that core philosophy or message that I wanted to write, but then the words just started flowing. And one day I'd accidentally locked myself out the back, and it was flowing, and I found a black texture in a cardboard box and just started writing. And my husband came home and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I think I'm writing a book.
Oh, I love it.
Amazing. And then, that would be my practice of how to prepare to write. So I'd, find the time to do it. I'd sit out the back on our patio, back veranda, and I would start to meditate first just to clear my mind. And then it would be flowing through, and I'd just start writing.
With a pen or with a
pen. I had to write with a pen, and then later started typing it. But I found a wonderful editor called Kelly Nissen, who lives on the other side of Australia, after I'd finished the manuscript, because I was basically just ready to print it. Where do I take this book to get printed? And then I've listened to some friends who recommended getting an editor. And so I can safely say that the manuscript that I did free flow write is not the perfect final version. So I feel that I don't want to say I channeled it, but I probably should give myself a bit more credit. I listened, I tuned in, I set my intention, I did a meditation, and I just let it come to me. And I'd go with that flow. And I'd write, and then I'd feel a little bit more instinct to research a bit more, and I'd read some more books, and then Now come back and write. So that it was a joy.
Amazing. Huh.
Yeah.
What do you see now? Like you're what, in your early 40s? You're 40.
40.
Where do you see what's next? Like, do you want to keep writing? Do you want to do things with children? Like,
yeah, I want to. So I can't wait to get my chapter book out into the world. My picture book is out already. And I've also created it like a game for parents to play with their children, that teachers could play at school, which is drawing upon, is based upon the my soul treasure concept. So I want children to learn how to find their treasure, which they can do at home with their parents through my game. So yeah, the next foreseeable future for me is getting that game out there and creating more educational content for children to be able to take this and really find it within themselves, because it's going to be unique to everyone. What makes you feel creative will be different to what makes me feel creative, what makes you feel happy. And that's the real the kind of depth that I want to give to this program, if you like.
Right.
I've got a friend who's a teacher, and she's started like the game in her class this year. So testing that out at the moment, which is really exciting. And then
I love that.
Yeah.
Where do you see education going? Do you see it these last 2 years, this shift in understanding, kids can be on computers at home, and I have, my girls are always asking me, Mom, math, why do I need to learn this? In history, I don't really care. And, and all these, and it's true. Like, I get that. I mean, I'd rather them learning, investment and, soul finding and learning how to, tap into your intuition. And, there's so many different things to life that it's just the old school foundation of this education that we've had for how many years, that now I feel like it kind of opened up in the last 2 years to something like your book, your game, and all this new, I mean, we were talking about Dominic, right? I've had so many people,
that same quote you were saying. Yes.
And how, how he's, aura coming out, people talking about auras and, and what I'm attracting from my students, like who I don't think 3 years ago it would have caught on, it's just a different energy. Don't you think?
I agree. I definitely agree. And that's one of the benefits that we've seen from COVID, excuse me, is just a more openness, I think, in society in general to how do we respond to things happening that are beyond our control, and look at how that's given us all an opportunity to look inward, to spend more time with family, to reassess our priorities. And I think, in general, we're coming upon a time where we can look back and say we've had a lot of what Dominic called the old information, which from going to university, and many people would understand this too, you've seen a lot of those old textbooks have been sitting on those shelves for a long time. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. It was the truth of the time. But I'm excited for all the new information and which will come about in the years ahead. We know science is the forefront of, for example, quantum physics. My husband loves to talk about this with me. Is so advanced and it's so exciting that I can't wait for that to now trickle back through so that we can reassess all of the other sciences, or just make way for a whole, new set of fresh information to come through. And to me, our children will be the generation and generations beyond that will allow that new information to be discovered. So humanity needs to be able to safely go, okay, sure, those old textbooks written in the 19X, they were truth at the time, but how about we allow ourselves to look at everything from a new perspective and make up some new scientific discoveries or scientific understandings. And that also goes hand in hand with spirituality for me, because we know now from quantum physics that the role of the observer is critical. It's a real role.
Right.
So let's apply that to the rest of our, sciences in particular and studies of, we all have an active role in our reality through our thoughts, through our intentions, and that impacts not only scientific discoveries, but also our personal reality. So I can't wait to hear what are going to be the topics of university degrees by the time they're old ladies. Like, I'd love to hear people. Oh, it would be so exciting. And,
it's so sorry, keep going. Did I interrupt you?
No, I was just going to say that I think, I have encountered, ideas or people who might think, oh, all the doom and gloom, and I'm worried about what the future will be for our, for generations to come. And I just have the opposite opinion. I have such a positive and optimistic view of the future. And to me, we need to like just be open-minded and allowing these younger generations to come up and lead the way.
Yes. I love that. And I love, when I look and talk to Paige, my 15-year-old, about, what do you want to study in school? And, we're trying to like start talking about that. And, it's just, and I don't, it's your path. And I want her to have that, but I love to talk about it. And I love to, she loves skincare, and, so we're talking, she's a I don't even have to buy any. We go to the Sephora and she's like, that's good for you. That's good for you. So I'm showing her,
yeah,
okay, that's an interest. Look at what things that pull you, that you love and you want to learn. And, but when you think of the future, especially with your children, I get so excited from what I'm learning from this podcast, all my guests that I've had that have these, I've grown so much from just speaking to these amazing people. It make my thinking and the students that I've met, that we continue to be connected and are always growing. You get your tribe together, and it's like we're like, we'll send podcasts to each other. It's like we're podcast. Someone said, were we a podcast junkie? Like, but I get the, it's just, we all want to grow. So we're learning so much, and there's so much to learn. And I have Dominic, what?
He mentioned that to you as well in your first podcast with him, that by connecting and sharing information, we're growing in that way.
Yes, I know. He loves to, that was one thing I was telling, we talk about, sometimes the girls have a hard time connecting with other children their age. And it's a different energy, and you won't understand that until you get to my stage, because I didn't see that for a long time. But when I've instilled these tools and really been present, you start to see, Mom, I don't have no one, it's like I don't connect. So so what would you say? Like, let's say you're fast forward and tell me I want to hear what you would say. I'm not going to tell you what I say, but I want to hear what you would say
to your daughters at that time.
Yes. What would you say?
They're being very brave, because it's basically, if you think back in history where you needed to go and discover a new land, someone had to walk first, didn't they? So they are being explorers. They're going first. So if they feel that they can't connect with the groups that are surrounding them right now, that's just because they're at the forefront of the way of their thinking. So they've grown up with such a sense of optimism from their upbringing, from what you've taught them, that they probably do have a higher vibration, but they're leading the way. They're showing the way forward. So, and their friends will see that, and they'll be drawn to it, because we know that in general, collectively, humanity wants to rise up. We're going to always tend towards love, tend towards hope, and not just be, thinking of a doom and gloom scenario. So they have to keep walking their path, but they're being very brave in walking forward, and keep shining their light. And then the friends that will see that and admire and know that then in themselves, they'll feel confident enough to do that too. And I think we so quickly, and it's very natural as a teenager too, you're battling some pumping hormones through your system, that it's very natural at that age just to be quick judge. And it's a reminder, I think, that we need to kind of instill in them is take a second to pause, and you don't need to judge that person. You can, if they're different to you, like, respect and show compassion. And I think that that's the brave path they're walking right now, which is, incredible. They're going to grow up to be incredible women.
Yes. And I love that. And that's empowering and I can tell you have written books, because the way you describe them, that you described it at the beginning, where picture the walking through the land, and I can see like I'm reading a story. I saw the visual. You're amazing at at describing a story and why you love storytelling with your children and why you wrote books. But when you think of how short childhood is, and we only get one childhood, and for parents to realize that and to go to empower them how you're doing it with your book and your tools and your beliefs and what and the understanding. I mean, your children are going to, be the leaders. Like they're going to be the ones that you just described. They'll be there before they get there. They're already there. Yes. But tell me as you have been a parent, because we're kind of coming to the end, what would be your, what would you think? Like if I look back and told my before I had a baby, or, what would be the biggest advice to what would you give yourself? Like before you had
I became a parent.
Yes. If you could go back in time and tell Kate, this is what I would tell you.
Yeah. I think it's so hard because what it's like. You've got nappies to change. Your house is a bomb site. It's a reality. And it's so easy just to turn away from that. But you've got to remember that it goes back to the quote that you posted the other day in your story. You're never going to get to the end of your life and think, oh, I wish I'd wiped the bench over another time. Like I wish my kitchen table looked a bit cleaner and my lounge room floor didn't have so many toys on it. You're not going to think that. Right. You're going to think of those moments, those connections, those eye-to-eye contact connections with your kids, watching them laugh, playing with them on their level, being silly, playing imaginary games, doing drawings together, and really enjoying their joy, because they're so joyful. Mm-hmm. And the gift that we get as a parent is to get back to that level of pure joy and enjoy it with them. And that would be the key thing that I would want to tell myself. Take that time, just pause, leave the kitchen bench, leave the toys on the floor and sit down with them and enjoy it with them. Enjoy their laughter and that beautiful eye contact and their gorgeous smiles.
Yes. Wow. See, I could have like 10 more kids just talking about that because I miss those days, but I remember being, like you said, everyone kept saying, oh, it goes so fast. And I'd go, okay. And now I'm the one at the grocery store. Oh, I love those. You're so lucky. Mine are at school. I loved it when they were at the shopping cart with me. And, I just cherish those days.
It is. But the beauty that you have before you in a decade or so to come is you'll get to be an amazing grandma, and then you get to have that joy of all the babies again.
Right. Oh, geez. Don't go there yet. I need to, oh gosh, it's just when you look back at raising children, when you do what you believe in doing and what you've woken up to and realize the importance of it. And you get to come to this stage of the game and go, I have 2 years left with Paige. I know her choices are her choices, but I've given her the tools to make her realize her soul is so powerful that she has the tools to get her through to make the right choices. She knows her values. That is like the biggest thing that could make me cry, because that is what I came here to do.
That's right. And it's such a joy for you to feel that feeling. Yes. That you're doing what you wanted to do and that you came here to do. And you can't ask for a better feeling than that in life.
At all. And on that note, oh, Kate, thank you so much for being here. And I know it's now it's 10 in the morning and you're already a day ahead. But to even have this time together and share your book with me, and you just speak my language. And, when you realize, I always talk about breadcrumbs, and you just keep picking the breadcrumbs up and going and knowing that there's magic every day. And, you're like a magic moment. Belinda was a magic moment. Those little people that you meet along the way, And then, the Steve Jobs quote where you can't, the pieces going, you can't see going forward or whatever. You can only see this going backwards, right?
Yeah.
Like hindsight's 2020. But, when you look back at your life and you look at how all these, synchronicities and not, I don't look at it as there's no accidents. When we all look back and we see how we got connected and who knows what comes to what's going to be ahead, and I just love dreaming, what if Kate and I did da, 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 like, what if, what brought us together? There's something.
Yes.
And it's just so fun to live like that in the wonder and the
Definitely.
awe of life.
That's right. The awe of life and the experience to really embrace it, to be here and be alive and to experience what you want, your heart's desires, what your soul is here to do.
Because you can have anything. You can be anything. You can do anything. There's no limits. Just like we talk, there's no limits.
Right.
Anyway, so we can find you on your Instagram.
You can. Yes, my Instagram is @soultreasure_. And I am having my website built at the moment, so stay tuned. And you can find my book, My Soul Treasure, on Amazon, Book Depository, at Barnes & Noble in America, and all around the world you can find it. So I hope
exciting.
That you get to enjoy it. And thank you so much, Ashley. It's been a real privilege to meet you, and thank you for having me in your podcast.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm excited to share your magic with my world. You have so much to share and so much ahead of you. I'm excited to see what your journey, how it unfolds.
Thank you.
Thank you.